Hi, thanks for joining. It's Ray with Tarot Living. So today we're going to do something a little bit different, and I've actually been planning this video for a little while, and it's going to be all about practicing tarot and how to do that on your own. So I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. But first things first, by the way guys, don't forget to subscribe. I have my nice subscribe button now, so I'm kind of excited about that. And also I wanted to say Susanna, someone named Susanna left me a really lovely message, and I wasn't able to respond because of the way that you have the features set up. So I actually can't reply to it, but thanks for the nice message, Susanna. And so today we are going to do tarot practice, and I want to talk to you about the various ways or the levels that you learn tarot. So the way I see it is there's kind of three main levels. So the first level is really learning it intellectually. So, you know, you're actually sitting down and you're writing card meanings and you're reading books and you're, you know, assessing what the card means, and you're probably doing a fair bit of memorizing potentially, unless you're a very, very intuitive reader. But for me, I think that's that whole, you know, intellectual and mental aspect of it. What we can actually associate with air energy. So you're learning things and you're taking in information, and that's certainly one piece of tarot that we have to do a lot of. There's a lot of tradition and a lot of symbolism in tarot, and a lot of deep, you know, astrological attributions and correspondences that we have to learn, or that you learn the best you can. Tarot is so deep and so complex that I think we never will really get to knowing everything. You just are, wherever you're at, you're learning what you can learn at that time. So I'm constantly in development of learning tarot. So the second area I see as doing, you know, in terms of learning tarot is really tarot practice. And so there's two ways that you can, you know, practice tarot, in my opinion. So obviously, you know, you need to be reading for friends or clients or, you know, querents, and you certainly need to be, you know, reading tarot for people. That's a given. So we're going to set that aside. But how do you practice tarot, you know, when you don't have a client there and you're just on your own? And I want to show you how I practice tarot and how I think that I've been able to, you know, get much better at knowing what to say when certain cards come up, and being able to use my keywords and work with card meanings and do it kind of on the fly. So it's sort of like tarot free fall, I like to call it. So this video is about practicing tarot on your own and how you can do that. So I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so much of learning tarot, in my opinion, is really about having the capability to bring up information and connect information, and also to recognize symbolism and patterns within cards as quickly and as efficiently as you can, because when you're doing a tarot reading, there's usually a lot going on. You're worried about the communication piece of it with the querent. You know, you have a lot more responsibility and a lot more things to think about when you actually are doing a tarot reading for somebody. So on your own, this is what I would recommend that you do. This is a suggestion. This is what I do actually all the time. So it is probably daily almost for me that I practice tarot or learn tarot or read about tarot in one way or another, or obviously, you know, do readings. But the practice piece of it is the funnest part, and it's really something that you can do on your own. So this is how I actually do it. I randomly pick cards. And I start with like a 2-card. So I don't typically do a 1-card read to practice tarot, because cards are usually in conjunction with each other. I mean, unless you're doing just a 1-card read on occasion. Typically, we're looking at how 2 or 3 or more or 10, you know, cards relate to each other. But we'll get to that in a minute. So I usually start by practicing with combining 2 cards together. So I'm just going to actually randomly pull cards, and I'm going to show you what information comes up for me and how I would present information, or just how I would even run through the information, what connections I'm seeing, you know, what I'm not seeing, that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to randomly pull tarot cards, and I'm going to show you how I sit at home and practice tarot. Okay, so here we go. We're going to actually just randomly pull 2 cards right now. I'm using the Pamela Coleman Smith's commemorative edition, And I love this deck, and we're going to use some Anna Kay in a minute. So I'm actually just going to randomly pull cards. Sometimes I will pull cards out as I'm rolling along, and even more than two, and then I have them all, you know, upside down, so I don't know what they are. And then sometimes out of those four, let's say, that I think are important, I'll then narrow it down to the two. But anyway, these are the two I actually picked. Okay, so this is really interesting. This is Magician card and the Eight of Cups. Okay, so here's a great example of where if you're immediately looking at it, I'm just going to free fall and I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing. So I'm seeing actually a masculine-based card that is involved in Gemini. It's ruled by air. And then I see a feminine-based card, which is the Eight of Cups, and it's actually ruled by Pisces. So, and then if I'm looking at the planets, I'm looking at Mercury is related to the Magician, and I'm looking at Saturn in relation to this card. So I immediately know that I do not see a connection with regard to the masculine and feminine, and I'm actually not seeing a connection with regard to the planetary positions. So, what do? So you immediately say, okay, there's no connection there. Now, what does no connection mean? So if there's no connection between feminine, and there's no connection between planets, then immediately take a look as to whether there is a dichotomy that has been presented to you. So I don't know if that's the right word, dichotomy or opposition. Actually, probably would be even a better word. So an opposition in tarot reading is actually very frequent, and I see it all the time, and it's actually a great topic. This is good that this came up because this is a great topic to talk about. When you're looking for patterns in tarot reading and you get to the point that you're pulling cards, let's say a 10-card reading, you're looking for patterns. That's great. You're looking for patterns often of similarity. But what if you pull cards and you're actually not seeing similarity, but you're seeing opposition in it? In astrology, we deal with opposition a great deal. So for example, just a crazy example, I have Sun in Libra, and I have Moon in Aries, and they are actually opposite signs to one another. So there's a dichotomy or an opposition that is intrinsically linked in having Sun in Libra and Moon in Aries. So that opposition has to constantly be, balanced and worked through throughout your lifetime. So oppositions, that's just an example so that you understand what I mean by opposition. So when we're looking at cards and we're looking at patterns, you often see opposition as a theme. So in my opinion, if I'm looking at these two, I'm actually seeing an opposition here. But I'm seeing an opposition that can actually be helpful to one another. So on the one hand, I'm seeing feminine card where you are involved in emotional aspects of things. So the Eight of Cups is typically, I'm just going to set these down so I can talk. The Eight of Cups is technically a card that's really all about having a lot of emotional exploration going on. So you have a lot of emotion, you have a lot of feelings, you've come a certain way in terms of your emotional self and your desires and your inner drives, because cups are all about that desire and emotional fulfillment that we're looking for. It's about relationships, it's about connecting to others. So you've come a certain way with the Eight, but the Eight is known, it's actually in what we call a cardinal position. In the 8, 9, 10 of Pisces. And so the 8 is saying, I've come a certain way, but I need to find more. I need to fulfill myself greater. And that's why he's actually walking away, to find greater fulfillment, to find a union with either another or with Source. It's a very spiritual card, and it's a card about inner searching and inner longing and not being fully happy with where you are, and that you feel that you need to actually walk away in order to move to another level. So the fact that we have an opposition of the cup and the air is actually a really good thing in this particular case. So it brings up the fact that how is somebody, I grabbed the wrong card, how is somebody going to have the impetus and the energy to walk away in a decisive way? So if you had the Eight of Cups pulled with, let's say, the Hanged Man, or something like Knight of Pentacles, something that slows it down, you know that that 8, that walking away and the needing to find greater fulfillment is going to be held back. If you pull something like the Magician, that is a masculine card that has a lot of extroversion and outgoing energy and a lot of decisiveness, you know that that walking away is going to be very decisive. So this would be 2 cards that I would look at and say that the Magician is actually going to help this 8 of Cups scenario, and is going to be very helpful in saying, what do I need to manifest? What do I need to wrap my brain around and wrap my heart around in order to figure out how I'm going to get there and what I'm going to do? And it's very much about manifesting and taking a step. The Magician is known to be, kind of this leader, and has the ability to take initiative and to actually move forward with things. He's the great manifester and the person who can put things in motion, recognizing that you can take what you want spiritually and actually make it happen in real life. So these 2 cards would say decisiveness of actually moving forward, moving on, finding something more that you want, creating something out of your life that is maybe far more fulfilling than what you have currently. So the fact that we have we don't have 2 cups, or we don't have 2 feminine, or we don't have planets that are necessarily the same, that's okay, because opposition can sometimes bring impetus to move forward. The other thing I want to say quickly is that Saturn is actually ruled by the 8 of Cups, and Saturn is a planet that, although really wants to work hard and really, dig deep and figure out what are my limitations and I want to move past them, Saturn is a fairly slow-moving planet. So again, Mercury in this case, very quick-moving. Mercury is the person who is intellectual and thinking very quickly and needing to move ahead and drive ahead. The 8 of Wands, just to give you a small diversion, the 8 of Wands is actually Mercury and Sagittarius. You know how the 8 of Wands are all moving ahead and they're just driving towards something? That gives you an example of how Mercury shows up in tarot cards. So he's ruled by Mercury, and he is going to help this person decisively move forward into what they need to do. So, and generally speaking, again, we're not talking about subject matter of what kind of question. We're talking about how do you relate 2 cards together. So, I mean, typically this can mean, relationship. You often see it come up in relationships where someone's not fully happy or they're thinking about moving on. You often see this card when you're not feeling full fulfillment in yourself. So again, Mercury is saying there's going to be decisive action and decisive decisions made in order to really manifest what it is that you want. If you'd pulled the 8 of Cups with the Hanged Man, I'd be slightly concerned that you're going to be not able to move forward as quickly, or not clear, actually, or that you're held back by various reasons that maybe you're not even conscious of as to, why you're not fulfilled. So I hope that helps for these 2 cards, and we're going to do more. Hang on. Okay, so let's move on to a second example. I hope you guys are going to find this helpful in terms of understanding how I look at cards and how I connect them, how I work with the meanings and the key words and combine them. So there's our first one. So again, I've laid out 3 actually, and I'm narrowing it down, and I'm going to go with 2. Oh, this is too interesting for words, really. So we were just obviously doing the 8 of Cups. So now I've pulled the 4 of Cups and the 8 of Cups. The 4 of Cups would have been another example when I said that the Hanged Man would have caused some issues with regard to moving forward, while the 4 of Cups is going to be even more so. So let's talk about this. I'm just going to set them down so that I can talk. So first of all, we know 4 of Cups and 8 of Cups. We know immediately that we have a connection with regard to cups. So, cups again are that feminine emotional element. They bring in all of our feelings, our inner desires, our drives, not our drive of being able to go outward, but actually what we want. Perhaps drive is not the right word, desire would be better. So it's about our connection to other people, it's about what we feel, it's about our intuition, it's about our inner world, actually. So cups are all about your inner world. So if somebody pulls the 4 of Cups and the 8 of Cups, you know that their inner world is 100%, important in this particular situation. So 4 and 8, first of all, a 4, if you're looking at a number, so let's talk about numbers a little bit. So 4s are always a number that, think about a box, I've said this before, 4s are very solid, so think about a box that is very solid. It has, same amount on each side, so you can turn it anyway, and there's a solidity, and there's an organization and a form to it. So if you're looking at a 4, you know that something is rather solidified, actually. And if you're looking at an 8, sometimes they talk about 8s almost being a double 4, so they have actually a lot of desire and drive and movement to them, but there's a solidity as well. But 8s are actually moving forward more than 4s. So if we look at the 4 of Cups and the 8 of Cups, again, the 8 of Cups is telling us that this person has greater desire to move forward, and we already know that. But the 4 of Cups is sitting there being the card that is completely opposite, or it's really almost like the step before you actually are wanting to, go somewhere or decide that you want to. It's that stagnation step where you're saying, well, I've reached a certain place emotionally, or I've reached a certain place within this relationship, but I'm not fully happy. There's something here. I'm not sort of seeing the best of it. I'm not grabbing new opportunities. I'm not moving forward. I'm actually quite stagnated in it. And it can be a card that often represents in relationships that you're feeling, kind of a sense of boredom, or you're not feeling very stimulated or very inspired, would probably be the best way to say it. And it's almost like you may need to reevaluate. So if somebody has a 4, you usually know, okay, well, it's kind of status quo. Things are very status quo. Or even about, if we're going to take relationships out of it and we look at just what people desire and their inner world, everything's status quo. But are you maybe not taking chances? Are you not going toward that new opportunity that's going to be very fulfilling for you? Are you not seeing, what's right in front of you? That's why there's a cup that's sitting there. That person is not seeing. He's actually looking down at the 3 that are here. So you're not seeing the next thing that you can go to quite yet. So the 8 is saying, well, we need to move on. So they've already gone through the pattern of really, the stagnation is sitting here, and now the 8 in terms of their inner desires saying, well, I think it's, it's kind of time to move on. So if you pull up the 4 and the 8, then you know that this person is really not, in the best place. They're not at the happiest point they can be. They're not at the most fulfilled point that they can be, and they're going to want to move forward in some way. There's going to be a potential holding back, because if you pull the 4, you know that that person is probably potentially wanting to stay in that status quo. And the 8 with Saturn involved can take a little time. So just making sure that they're aware that this is a potential, that they're going to feel held back, or that it's going to be very slow in terms of moving forward, or that potentially it's saying that they've spent a long time not being very happy, and that finally there's an opening where they can see that it's maybe time to move on, and they're going to do that. So you can coach and help them with that. So this is a great example of where you pull 2 4s, and then you've obviously got a connection between the cups. So this one, just to let you know, is actually Moon in Cancer and Saturn in Pisces. So Moon, all about your emotions. So it's all going to be internalized and what they're feeling and what they're desiring. And Moon in Cancer tends to not move on very quickly from things. It just sort of sits there. And so again, and I think I've covered that. So I hope that helps. So I think we're going to end it there with our examples for this video. So please let me know if you've enjoyed this video in terms of seeing how I'm practicing tarot by just pulling 2 cards and seeing the connections. Are they masculine? Are they feminine? Are they 2 wands? Are they 2 cups? Do they have connection with regard to the astrological symbolism, etc., etc.? Are the card meanings similar? Those are the things that you can practice, and you can do that on your own. So just give it a whirl and just sit down and pull 2 cards randomly and find all of the things you can find similar about them, and find all of the things that you really see a dichotomy or an opposition, because that in fact may be the the purpose of that particular two cards coming up, is that really the person is not sure which way to go, or they're bouncing back and forth between oppositional forces or energies. So I hope this has helped. Give it a try, and if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching Tarot Living. Take care.